32 years of service to our Army and to our nation, I remember taking my oath. I remember going to the Pentagon, to this little personnel office, and raising my hand and thinking, wow, I'm really signing up for this. I'm sort of joining. You know, it's not like I'm taking a job. You think you're going to go out and work for a company and you go into your first day and you start doing your work. You know, I pledged that I would do my best, and I pledged that I would do my best for our nation. It's pretty, I think it's pretty cool that, you know, that for all these years I've worked for our nation. And you look around and, you know, lots of my peers have done great things for their company, but I've helped my nation. And I think it's just, you know, the oath is an important start. I don't think many understand that civilians take the same oath or a very similar oath to our commissioned officers. And one of the things that we're trying to do with the Army Acculturation Initiative is actually make that an event. Have a senior executive or a senior general officer or commander go in and give that oath to those new civilians. Make it special. We want them to join our profession. We want them to know that we value that pledge or that promise that they're making to our nation and what they're going to contribute to our Army. So the oath is very important. Even today, I think back on that. $300,000 people working for our Army in the civilian capacity. I don't think people understand how big that is. 540 different career fields, 31 different career programs doing a myriad of functions, from the GS2 level to the executive level, to our Secretary of the Army, who is a civilian appointed by the President. I think there are a myriad of functions that the Army civilian performs to support our profession of arms. If you want to put your children in childcare so you can go out and train, you can prepare to deploy. If you need the ammunition so that you can train. If you need access to ranges so you can execute your training. If you need role players when you're out at the NTC. You know, if you need people to write policy to ensure that you're paid appropriately, that you're equipped appropriately, that you have the right facilities, civilians are going to provide that for you. That expertise, that continuity, and that leadership to ensure that our profession is effective. There is a diversity of thought that comes from having people that maybe grew up differently, didn't grow up in the Army, maybe have been in the private sector, have been to different kind of academic institutes, and bringing their ideas and their innovation to the complex problems the Army faces make the civilian cohort a very important part of our Army. Since 2001 in these current conflicts, the Army has asked our civilians to step up, and they have done a remarkable job. They've worked hard, they've deployed, they've worked longer hours, they've taken on new missions, they've assumed new roles, they've gone back to learn more things, they've deployed into theaters where we previously haven't been. They've been forward deploys into combat areas. Think about our logistics support, or think about the ammunition support, or human terrain teams, mobile training teams. They're out there with our soldiers making sure they're equipped and ready to handle those extraordinary missions that they have to handle as part of the profession of arms. It is critical that Army civilians are part of the profession. This is part of building trust with our military cohorts. They need to have confidence that we understand the ethics, values, and history of our Army, that we understand the missions and the objectives that our Army has, and how important their roles are to ensuring that our Army can accomplish their missions. So I think that what being part of the profession means is setting some standards, understanding that I have the competence to serve, I have the character to serve, and I am committed to the Army. First of all, an individual is selected for a position. That is a standard. The standard is the job they're selected for, and it is the criteria that is used to evaluate that person when you select them. So somebody comes in with standards. They meet the standards of the job. But how do I ensure they meet the standards of the job after I've hired them? We do that through many ways. We do that through counseling. We do it through a performance management system, which says, I'm going to set objectives to you. You're going to meet them over time or not meet them over time. I'm going to give you feedback. And then annually, I'm going to evaluate you, and you're going to know where you stand, know your strengths, know your weakness. And oh, by the way, I'm going to invest in you. I'm going to educate you, train you, and give you different opportunities to grow your competencies. Through that, we can have confidence and we can certify that somebody is able to do their job, they're qualified to do that job, they have the competence to do that job, and they do it in the right manner. They do it ethically, and they do it with character. Well, trust is important, I think, in any organization, whether it's your family, whether it's your church, or whether it's your work, or whether it's our Army. You have to have faith and confidence that people are going to do the right thing. And it's not just say the right thing, that they're actually going to apply those ethical principles. They're going to live the Army values. So whether I'm a civilian or military, I am going to be loyal to our nation. I'm going to make sure that my actions are honest, they're fair, they're aligned with integrity, that I wouldn't do anything inappropriate. But I think it goes back to maybe something we talked about earlier, is how do we make sure that our military cohort really understands our civilian cohort? Again, a captain understands what a sergeant does, a sergeant understands what a captain does, their experience, their education. Do they really understand what the civilian workforce is? And yes, we're very diverse, and yes, we all have different backgrounds, but to be a GS-13 branch chief, there is experience, there's talent, that comes with that. So how do I ensure that there is good common understanding? Because, trust, in our profession should be implicit, but it doesn't mean that we don't need to grow it and strengthen it and strengthen that cohesive fiber or fabric of our Army. And I think by doing that and by understanding what our military or civilian bring to the problem set, and making sure that we act ethically. I mean, I think that is something, making an ethical decision, I think, helps build trust. Demonstrating your loyalty builds trust. So I think that's something we do in our personal relationships, and it's something we need to do in our professional relationships. Every person who comes to work should be able to thrive in this profession. They should be treated with respect. They should work in an environment that is fair. They should know that their bosses, their peers, and their subordinates have integrity and are going to do the right thing. They should be able to trust those around you. And I think that civilians, just like our military cohort, should be able to flourish in that environment. They should know and have confidence that they're going to be treated right. Their word has value. Their deeds have value to the Army mission. So I just think that it is incumbent on all of us, whether you're a leader or a worker or a commander, to make sure that people can come to work, they can do their job, they understand the importance of their job, they're given frank feedback on the good that they do and where they need to improve, that they're given opportunities to further develop their skills, whether it's leader development or it's technical training. I think that that's how we, as a profession, will thrive, but it's also how our workforce as individuals within the profession will thrive. Army civilians have an important role to ensure that we have a safe and sound environment for Army soldiers, Army civilians, and the families of both. We do that through ensuring that we are disciplined and meet standards in our performance of duties, whether we're working at the Installation Management Command, the Medical Command, the Training and Doctrine Command. I think it is ensuring that we're acting ethically, and if we're not acting ethically, that we're self-regulating. If somebody else isn't acting ethically, that we're engaging or intervening. I think that, as I think about SHARP and the sexual harassment and sexual assault response program, we have a requirement. We need to stand up. If we see something that makes us feel uncomfortable, we need to say something. If we see somebody acting inappropriately, we need to say something. And I think that's part of how we can make sure that there's a safe and secure environment for our Army and our profession. how can Army civilians demonstrate stewardship to the Army profession? I think we do that every day. And I think that we do that by a couple means. One is to ensure that we effectively, efficiently, and ethically manage the resources in which we're entrusted. And those resources are people, those resources are equipment, and those resources are money. We have to ensure that we do that. That is stewardship. Army civilians have lots of experience running policies, processes, systems. That's what our military asks us to do. Those program budgeting systems, those equipping systems, those facilities management systems. That's what civilians are doing for our Army. So I think that ensuring that they're running appropriately, ensuring that there are no material weaknesses, that if there are gaps, that we're fixing those gaps, that's what we do. I mean, that's what civilians do for our Army. The Army is investing in our Army civilians, and they're doing that through a multi-pronged approach. We're doing that through ensuring that our civilians are acculturated to our Army, a new program that TRADOC is leading for our Army. They're doing that by ensuring that the civilian education system provides educational needs that meet their requirements, that individual civilians' requirements. Investing in civilians going off for a year to get a graduate degree or go off to the Army War College. Those are all ways that we're investing in leader development for civilians. But there are other ways. There are easy ways at the local level that we can do that. Broadening somebody's competencies, giving them an opportunity to do a different job, giving them an opportunity to serve at a different level, whether it's on a permanent basis or on a temporary basis. There's lots of ways to develop civilians. Unfortunately or fortunately for me, I was a civilian that did not get a lot of educational opportunities. Although an intern, I had 2 classes in my whole internship. And the next time I went to school is when I became a senior executive. But it doesn't mean that I wasn't developed. For me, the experiential learning and developmental assignments were the best way to kind of hone my skills, broaden my competencies, and give me different levels of leadership experience. And so I think for every civilian, it's probably a little different. And so that one size may not fit all, but there's lots of opportunities out there. And as leaders, we have a responsibility to go out and figure out what works for our workforce and to help our military leaders understand how to apply all those civilian programs so they can also help their civilian workforce. I am so excited about the Army Acculturation initiative that the Civilian Workforce Transformation under the Undersecretary has taken on. This is an opportunity for us to acclimate civilians to our Army profession, our culture, our history, what we value, our ethics, the stewardship, and over about a year time to lay out events that must occur: education, training, experiential learning, performance counseling, performance evaluations, so that in about a year's time, you have been acculturated. You understand our Army, you can talk about our Army. Hopefully, you've become an advocate for our Army and you want to stick with it like I did. Because when you come in, you don't know. It's a job. We want it to be more than a job. We want it to be your career and your profession. And so it starts before the person is even brought on board. It starts when they're hired and getting them to understand what the Army is about. And hopefully it's going to culminate with an event, a ceremony that says you've completed your first year, you've done everything we've asked you to do, we're happy you're part of us. But the other thing acculturation will do is make sure that those that support the system, whether it's our human resource professionals or it's our supervisors, understand what they need to do to acculturate a civilian to our force. And I think that what we'll see over the next year is pilots going on out there where we will be trying out tools, we'll be trying out maybe using the Army Career Tracker, which is a foundational document for training and education, to see if that can help us link the employees in and they have access to the tools they need in order to do this and the references. And I think it's going to be a great thing for our Army. I think it will be a great thing for our leaders to have that tool to help them bring in our new force into our profession. The advice I have for Department of Army civilian leaders is probably similar to what I would tell any civilian: work hard. Our Army is going to be facing complex problems in the future, and they're going to look to us to help them solve those problems. Continue to be creative and innovative. Look for new ways of doing work. Work hard. Be honest and forthright in your dealings. If you feel uncomfortable about something, speak up. If you see something that is not right, talk to somebody about it. Don't wait for an issue to happen. I will tell every Army civilian, whether you're a leader or a new employee, have a plan. Develop your individual development plan. It doesn't matter if you have 5 years left or 25 years left working for our Army. You know, set some goals and objectives. Work towards those goals and objectives. And probably lastly to the leaders is be coaches and mentors to others. Share that experience, share your expertise, share your leadership with others, because they will learn and they will thrive because you have.